Life has started to feel so much better when I cut out certain things. Being into self-improvement means you have to kill off your old ways, especially if you want to become unrecognizable. The first thing you need to cut out is doing things for validation. Dude, this is seriously such a huge trap that every younger guy falls into. You're probably buying some things that you can't afford, doing things you don't want to do, and the worst of it, skipping out on things that you actually do want to do just because you're afraid of what other people might think. I'm telling you right now, it was really bad for me when I was younger, down to the point where I was listening to music that I didn't really care for, just for the sake of being able to have aux when I was with my friends. I would only listen to music that was popular at the time, so that way I wouldn't feel embarrassed whenever I had the chance to play music. I would play music that I thought all my friends would like as well. Of course, this just stems from being insecure. So once you start to become a more secure person, you're gonna start dressing the way you want to. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it is a lot more freeing knowing that your decisions are only for you and not to please other people. In fact, in my own personal life, I started to realize that it's a lot easier to say no to other people because I could care less what they think. Really keep that in mind. If you're the kind of guy who says yes to everybody, it's probably because you're trying to please everybody. Sometimes this just takes time. I'm 22 years old and I didn't really stop being like this until I was like 18 years old. For some people, that's really late, but for other people, that's really early. But I guarantee you, once you stop focusing on validation from others, your life will significantly improve. The next thing I cut out is not using my phone first thing in the morning. As soon as you wake up, your brain is already foggy, which makes it really easy to get stuck scrolling, especially on social media. From personal experience, this is gonna fry your brain for the rest of the day, which is crazy because your morning is honestly one of the most important parts of your day. This is gonna set you up. If you don't have your mind right first thing in the morning, it is really hard to bounce back from that. The rest of the day, you're probably gonna be unproductive, lazy, and unmotivated. Unfortunately, this does come as a cycle. I didn't have some sort of epiphany and never did this again. In fact, I was struggling with this probably like last week. I honestly just have to remind myself not to sleep with my phone, because if my phone is within arm's reach of me going to sleep, then it's a lot easier to go on your phone first thing in the morning. So my best advice for this is just to cut it out cold turkey. For me personally, this has been a game changer. The next thing I stopped doing is only doing the things that I needed to when I felt like it. Self-improvement becomes so much easier when you do things because you know you have to instead of because you feel like it. You've heard this a million times from so many guys on social media that relying on motivation will get you nowhere. That is 100% true. One thing that helps a ton is creating a to-do list. This is something that I get repetitive on this channel, but it does help a lot. Knowing exactly what you have to do every single day. That way nothing important slips your mind, and that way you're staying on top of your goals. Working out is a great example of this. I work out every single day, whether I'm lifting, running, or even just going on a walk. And look, I'm not opposed to motivation. In fact, I do little tricks to keep me motivated. One trick is seeing progress. I track my progress week by week, and I try to get myself addicted to seeing progress. Another motivation trick is having some new pickups that make you excited to do certain things. For example, as far as shoes, my recent pickup was from NOBULL, which is the sponsor of today's video. NOBULL is a training brand that stands for health and wellness and has award-winning shoes. Most notable is their Drive shoes. These have been insanely popular, and I think for good reason. And recently they just released their Ripstop version. Those are the ones that I have, and I absolutely love them. In fact, these are probably their most comfortable yet. They have a 100% Pebax foam midsole that makes it super light, comfortable, and responsive to your workout. The Ripstop material on top makes it breathable and gives you a very secure fit. I've been training in these for a few months now, and I seriously have no complaints. Whether I'm just going on a walk, lifting weights, literally anything else, these are the perfect do anything shoes. I actually consider these the perfect hybrid shoe because they adapt to any workout. So if you're like me and you like switching up your training, but you only want to buy one pair of shoes, these are the ones that I recommend. I got them in this blue color, which I think makes them stand out just a little bit more as well. So if you're interested in trying these out, I'm going to leave the link in the description. I'm also going to leave the QR code right here. I honestly cannot recommend these enough. The next thing I cut out is doing things that are going to ruin my sleep. I'll be honest, I love sleeping, and I try to make sure that anything that I do, especially at night, is not going to interfere with my sleep. I think one of the most common things that younger guys like to do is going to sleep watching a show or anything like that. I get it. You might think that it's helping you go to sleep, but the blue light can disrupt your sleep, and watching something is a stimulus, which again will ruin your sleep. And I'll be honest, I get invited out quite a bit, but I try to make sure that I'm home and in bed by 11 p.m. My phone goes on D&D, no one's interrupting me. In fact, I even bought a sleep mask. This one's really good because it covers the entirety of my eyes. I bought this for like 10 bucks on Amazon, and this was a small purchase that really helped me out. The next thing I no longer do is keeping up with the Jones. That's such a funny expression to me. I have no idea what it means, but it pretty much implies that you always want the newest thing, the newest car every year, the newest phone, which may sound hypocritical because I just got the new iPhone. There's actually a reason for this. My last phone was just screwing up way too much. Buying something every single year, first of all, is completely unnecessary. Second of all, let's be real. This is just another validation trap. If you continuously buy things for the sake of status signaling, you're probably doing that from a stance of insecurity. I don't want to offend anybody. In fact, I used to do the same thing. When I was 18 years old, I started making my first bit of money. And of course, I was living with my parents, so I didn't have any real responsibilities. One thing that I started to do was start to buy designer. I would wear this out thinking that I looked so cool, that everybody knew that I had money. First of all, I probably did look like a cornball. Second of all, that is money down the drain that you will never get back, especially on purchases that do not hold any value. So yeah, you don't need the new version every year, nor do you need to blow money for the sake of trying to impress other people. The next thing I stopped doing is ordering out all the time. I really gotta stress all the time because I do it sometimes, but there are way too many guys who live off of Uber Eats and DoorDash. That is again, more money down the drain. First of all, with all these food services, you are paying a surcharge. Normal price menu items do go up, then you have to pay for delivery, extra fees, and at the end of it, you still have to give a tip. At least I hope you're giving a tip. But yeah, all that stuff adds up, and most of the time, it's really for no good reason. Again, I'm not 100% against it. There's some times where I'm just locked in, or maybe I'm meeting some sort of deadline, and I want to order groceries or order food. Sure, at times, I think it's okay once in a while, but if you're doing it out of pure laziness, then I think you are 100% wasting money. And as a guy who's trying to get into self-improvement, your finances are equally as important. You really want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success, especially long-term. Next thing you should cut out is hoarding items. I had the biggest epiphany when I started to look around my room. I would look at purchases I made for a couple $100, which sure, maybe isn't the end of the world, but if you have 5 items, 10, or even more than that, that is quickly thousands of dollars that you are never gonna get back. There's no point in letting your stuff sit around, collecting dust. So sell it off, which actually brings me on to the next point. If you do wanna buy something, check out Facebook Marketplace or anything like that, because like I mentioned earlier, a lot of things don't hold value. So let somebody else buy it, let somebody else get tired of it, and then you buy it off their hands for way cheaper. All right, this next one is definitely a mistake that I did when I was younger, and that is not stretching. As a younger guy, it probably doesn't cross your mind that you need to stretch and warm up. I'm telling you right now, I cooked my shoulders and knees by not stretching and warming up properly, especially when I first started to get into the gym. I would just go in there, rip as much weight as possible. Not to brag, but I was a very strong 17-year-old. But now that I'm 22, and keep in mind, that is still very young. Despite all you guys calling me Unc, I am very young. My knees hurt, my back hurts, it's crazy. So yeah, especially if you're on the younger side, really make sure that you're taking care of yourself before you do some irreversible damage. Brings me on to the next thing, which is not resting enough. Look, even at my age, sometimes you do feel invincible, but sleep is wildly important, which is why I mentioned that earlier in the video. But you wanna make sure that you're resting. You wanna make sure that you're getting the proper amount of sleep. In fact, that's why I track my sleep. I make sure that I not only get enough hours of sleep, but it is good quality as well. Years and years of not sleeping well, that is gonna fry your brain. You are gonna age like milk. So develop a good sleep routine in your life will definitely improve. Next mistake is over-consuming. We live in a world where everything is content. So if you notice yourself scrolling on social media for hours on end, so try to get into the mindset of producing more than you consume. That doesn't necessarily mean doing social media, but if your focus is to always create something, I guarantee you, even if you don't turn that into a full-fledged business, it is a great habit. That also comes down to spending as well. I'll be honest, I do make a lot of purchases. Becoming an over-consumer will drain your bank account. One of the best quotes that I heard recently was, all of the things that you really want, all your biggest desires, were probably marketed towards you. So really start thinking about the purchases you make, the content that you consume, really have a deep conversation with yourself and make sure that, is this something that you really want? Or am I falling for somebody's marketing scheme to just take my time or my money? This video was a lot deeper than I thought it would be, but these are the conversations that I absolutely love. One thing that I love to do is have certain skills that really improve my life. If you want to see a video about that, I'm gonna leave that right here for you to watch as well.